Hi, good morning. I'm Lee. I'm one of the chef lecturers here, mostly dealing with the full-time students. Today we're going to look at a little bit of butchery. I've got a lovely leg of lamb with a chump on, just been delivered from Brian Everington's. Beautiful leg of lamb. It's not sticky, there's no smell to it, so it's nice and fresh. So what I'm going to do this morning, I'm going to take the chump off. I'm going to tunnel bone, take that bone right out. I'm going to tie that up, and then I'm going to put this to the side, and we'll hand it over to Tony, who's going to prepare a meal with it later on. So first things first, the kit I've got: a diamond steel to make sure all my knives are nice and sharp, a small boning knife to get right in between the bone and the flesh, my large chef's knife, nice and sharp again. I won't be using that one very much, but it's just to get through the bigger chunks, and to get through the chump I've got a butcher's saw. So to start with, I'm going to remove this end chump part. So I'm going to use my chef's knife. I'm going to cut a line in. I'm not going to get through that bone because it's a massive bone in there. So I'm going to use my butcher's saw. When I'm sawing through, I'm only going to cut through the actual bone. If I go into the flesh, the teeth in the saw are going to rip it to shreds. So into the bone, straight through the bone, I stop sawing. I'm going to wipe that down, and then with my knife I'm going to cut that right through. Now, very important, where the bones are, you can get some sawdust, little bits of bone through, so I'm just going to scrape that bone, and that's the chump off. I'm going to wipe that. And then on this side again, I'm just going to scrape the bone, get rid of all that sawdust. You can see how much bone material comes off. We don't want to eat that. So back to our leg. First of all, I'm going to remove the H-bone. And basically with the tip of a very sharp knife, I'm just going to run around the bone. So don't rush, leave as much meat on the joint as possible. And when you get to that socket joint, you should just be able to pop the tip of the knife through. So, H-bone removed. I'm not going to throw that away. We'll save all these bone trimmings and any of the meat trimmings and make a stock with that later on. So, I've got the H-bone out. I'm just going to trim off some of this excess fat. There's a big flap of meat we can remove there. Again, that'll go in the stock pot. We can mince it down and use it for a stuffing. Big chunk of sinew just along the back here. So we've removed the H-bone, we've exposed the ball and socket here. So I'm going to start at this end, then I'll start at the foot end, and we'll meet at the middle to try to take the bone out in one piece. So all I'm going to do is follow that bone up, loosening the meat all around, staying as close to the bone as I can. So I'm up to about halfway up, and then I'll turn it around. Now, on the foot end or the shank end, the bone is very, very close to the flesh, so I'm not going to be able to tunnel this all the way through. So I'm going to cut into this end. There's a big bit of sinew just at the bottom, which I'm going to remove. That will go into our stock pot. I'm just going to slice in against the bone, hook the knife underneath and cut that through. This will take us up to the next ball joint, which I'm not going to cut through. I'll carry on following that down into the main eye of the meat. Okay. Any extra large sinews joining that we're going to cut out at the same time. So we're just starting to break through. You follow that joint of meat along. And then finally, get the bone out. We'll save that again for the stock pot. So we've got our lovely tunnel boned leg of lamb. On this foot end there's quite a large bit of sinew you can just see there. So I'm just going to trim that out. Again, there'll be loads of flavour in that to go in our stock pot. And the rest of this leg, I'm just going to tuck inside. This is a perfect time to season and stuff. And that's our leg of lamb. So we're just going to pop a couple of ties around there just to hold everything together. So I've got some butcher's twine. So I'm going to start in the middle, one in the middle, then either end. We'll see how it's looking afterwards. May go a second one either side and then one lengthwise. So to tie a decent length piece of twine, I'm going to tie a little slip knot in there. So we tie around the long end, pull that tight. I'm going to put it tight, make sure it's in the correct place. I'm just going to give it a quick tug to hold it in place, and then a little ½ inch, so a loop around and then cut off. So I'm just going to do a couple more. And I'm just going to pop one lengthwise just to hold that end in and to pull the whole joint together. So now we have one leg of lamb joint ready for Tony to roast later on. The chump, which I'm not sure what he's going to do with that one, and we've got some trimmings to make a beautiful lamb stock with. Thank you very much.